Forwarded to Nova.
All right, I'll begin the January 13th work session here at the Assembly Chambers. Let's get this thing started. We'll start with citizens' comments. There's one designated period for citizen comments during our work session. And so for those who wish to call in, the local number is 907-486-3231. Toll-free 1-855-492-9202, and please turn off your radio or any listening device to prevent feedback. For those in the room who wish to speak under citizens' comments, please, you're welcome to come up to the podium and sign in. Turn on the microphone and make sure that the green light is on before speaking. And please speak directly into the mic. And before you begin, just state your name for the record and address all remarks to the Assembly as a body and not to any member thereof.
Good evening. My name is Scott Arndt.
Thank you, Scott. And we have a caller online.
We're now answering a call from the queue.
Good evening, Assembly Work Session. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, this is Nick Loomis.
Go ahead, please.
Hello, Assembly members. This is Nick Loomis. I'm currently serving as the interim hospital administrator up at Prof. Kodiak. I was calling just to make awareness for some upcoming, rapidly approaching deadlines for the Rural Health Transformation Program. If you aren't aware, or if anyone listening in isn't aware, this is a pretty transformational opportunity for rural Alaska. We have a guaranteed $272 million per year for the next 5 years, directly funded through CMS. That's going to be directly allocated as grants to different stakeholders around Alaska to improve rural health. Things are moving quickly. There's work groups happening in Anchorage this week. The funds are anticipated to be available to the state in the coming weeks, with opening of grant applications as early as next month. The scope is quite wide. There's 6 big tenets that it's focusing on. It's healthy beginnings, healthcare access, healthy communities, fiscal sustainability, strengthening workforce, and sparking technology and innovation, with a goal of really transforming healthcare delivery in rural Alaska. Boroughs, municipalities, non-healthcare entities are really encouraged to apply, and I would imagine there's probably lots of things managed or co-managed by the borough that would fit nicely into one of those categories. So just wanted to offer some awareness of those rapidly approaching deadlines for access to some pretty unique, once-in-a-lifetime funding for us in rural Alaska. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Seeing none, we'll jump right into manager's comments.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Assembly members, and Happy New Year. Due to having 2 meetings this week, a work session and a regular meeting on Thursday, you'll get a formal manager's report on Thursday. But one thing I did want to mention is in agenda setting, you'll notice for work sessions, the manager's report got moved to the top of the agenda, and we're looking to make an ordinance change for that for regular meetings as well, just to be able to hopefully address any citizens' comments that can be addressed right as they're given. Otherwise, the manager's report comes at the end of the meetings, and the assembly can't really address comments as they come. So this is kind of a mechanism that we could try to answer some citizens' comments if it's appropriate to do so.
Great. Thank you, Amy. Okay, first on the list for tonight is a discussion of the state and federal CIP list resolutions. Amy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To support lobbying efforts of the state at the state and federal levels, the Kodiak Island Borough Assembly creates 2 lists of projects that inform the state and federal delegations of the needs of the Kodiak Island Borough. The signed resolution of state-level list is entered into the Capital Project Submission and Information System, which we just call CAPSIS, and is shared with the KIB's State Alaska Delegation. The signed resolution for the federal list is forwarded to the federal lobbyist, Mr. Sebastian O'Kelly, who then distributes the list to KIB's federal delegation. The Assembly previously discussed this at the December 16th work session and asked for a follow-on date to continue the conversation. In your packet tonight, you'll find the CIP list passed by Planning and Zoning Commission, the state CIP list for the 2025 legislative season, the federal CIP list for the 25 to 26 session, and in front of you, printed out, or if you're online, you can find this in the December 16th work session supplemental materials, is the resolution supplied by our federal lobbyist for our federal list this year.
All right, thank you. So you've already discussed this, I think, a little bit before. We have the list before us from P&Z. How would you like to proceed? And this is today's just a day for discussion. We'll approve it on Thursday. If there's no discussion or there are no changes today, this is what we'll be voting on Thursday. This might be the quickest CIP discussion, but I think it was pretty substantive last month. So, yes, Amy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will say that during our last discussion, Assemblymember Johnson told us that our figures were not correct for the St. Herman Harbor project. And so I have gotten updated numbers for them. There are 3 phases, each phase being between 28 and 33 million. So I don't know if you guys think it's more effective to ask for a single phase, or we include the total, or how you'd like to address that. And then once we are completed with this discussion tonight, Nova and I will work together tomorrow, and then hopefully tomorrow you'll get an email with the resolutions that will be in the packet for Thursday for both the state list and the federal list. So as soon as this discussion's over, we'll be able to fill those blanks in.
Thank you, Amy. And this also kind of bleeds in a little bit to the next agenda item, which is to talk about what you want me and other representatives to be talking to our legislators about and to our federal delegation. So I think my gut says to just include phase 1 of the St. Herman Harbor project, just to, I know 23 million is still a little sticker shock-ish, but so is 160. So is 160 million. But that way, it just helps me, target. I can still mention that we're gonna, the community is gonna need 160 million dollars, but it just might help us in our lobbying and advocacy efforts to maybe just focus on phase 1. Scott.
Do we have timelines for these? How long will phase 1 take? Anybody know? Dave?
Through the mayor, we're still, I believe the city of Kodiak is still working on getting approval of the environmental permitting. My understanding is it's all been submitted on the, all except the environmental assessment, the NEPA, the USFWS endangered species paperwork have all been submitted. The EA is probably going in the next 14 days, and then it's at the kind of the mercy of the federal government. If I could continue, if that's
Yes,
all
please,
right.
go ahead.
There's, yeah, so that 160, that was what I was trying to clarify. That was adding, that essentially added together two different options for project execution, so it kind of doubled the project cost.
Okay.
It's 65 to 99 million is the total price tag. Phase one, 28 to 33 million, 11.25 has been awarded by the Maritime Administration. The city of Kodiak's responsible for a little over 2.8 as the federal match. There's 5 million currently in CDS, whether or not that goes through or not, and an application to the State of Alaska Harbor Grant Program for another 5. But it's safe to say it's somewhere around 10, depending. Realistically, that harbor grant's not going to happen this year, so it's 10 to 15 million short for phase one.
Okay.
And once funding and permits are in place, estimated 18 months for construction.
Any other comments? Scott, and then,
Well-
actually, I'm sorry, let me take Jeremiah first.
I wasn't going to say much, just concurrence that focusing on phase one to get our foot in the door with the federal government. And like you said, not an act of total sticker shock seems to be the wise move to me, but without, but again, you know, emphasizing that that is not the end of the line for the project as well, so that we don't have anybody thinking that's all we need.
Scott?
If we do one at a time, I think that's a good idea. I think we have to put in the phrasing of the verbiage below it that it's going to be a long-term project, and this is just a start. But hit them in the face with 160 million or 99 million right off the bat is a little daunting.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, if it's okay, maybe we take out the bulleted list lines 183 through 187, and then just include that information in the narrative, but so that the phase one just kind of sticks out. Okay. Amy?
Thank you. Assemblymember Johnson, so for phase one, do you think a $15 million line item is appropriate with the money that the city has already acquired?
I think to follow the guidance we received from Representative Stutes and Senator Stevens to try and match things as much as possible, a $10 million ask for phase one would be the appropriate number.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other comments on any of the other items on both of these lists? Okay, seeing none, we will move on. Discussion of travel to Juneau and Washington, D.C. Oh, one more thing?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, can we hit the federal list real quick?
Oh,
It's
for sure.
printed out in front of you. It's much shorter.
So is the printed one different from the one that's in the packet online?
I believe the one that's in the packet online is the one that we passed for last year,
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
but they are very similar.
Okay, did you have something you wanted to point out?
No, I just wanted to make sure that that looked
Double
okay.
check.
So that aligns with Assemblymember Johnson's comments on the $5 million for
Yes.
the congressionally delegated spending. That was earmarked last year, and then President Trump canceled all of that funding, and so we're asking for that to be re-included this upcoming year. So I think that all pretty much stays the same. I just, if this looks good, this is how it will go directly into the packet for Thursday.
Okay. All right, everybody good with, for right now, federal list? All right, okay. Now we can kind of continue this conversation, discussing the lobbying efforts, discussing items to lobby for. Nova, is this you? Do you want to?
Yes.
Okay.
So the Alaska Municipal League Winter Conference will be held on February 17th through the 19th in Juneau. As far as I know, we have the mayor and Assemblymember Johnson going. I also know that Bo may not be present at the February 19th meeting. So that's 2 assembly members who will be out on February 19th. So we need to know as soon as possible if anyone else wishes to attend, so that we'll know if we're going to have a quorum for that meeting on February 19th. So please let Irene know or let me know if you're planning to attend or making arrangements for your airfare. I believe there's a discount that's going to expire soon. And then we need to secure you a room in Juneau as well. And then this is an opportunity for you to discuss a possible DC travel for lobbying purposes. Thank you.
Thank you, Nova. Yes, we are working in our agenda setting sessions to make the February 19th agenda as light as we possibly can, since there'll be a few of us here. I'll have a fuller report on Thursday about the AML meeting in December. There's a lot going on there, but yeah, I will be attending there also. So this is your opportunity to let me know what you're thinking, and I'll let you know what I'm thinking. And then we've been invited by our federal lobbyist, Seb, to team up with the city and do a joint lobbying trip March 23rd to Washington, D.C. to talk to departments there and our federal delegation there, if they are there. Coming out of the previous conference and going into the winter conference is usually focused on specifically what's going on in the legislature at the time. And Amy and I haven't really sat and talked yet. Now that Dave is going, so what are some of the things? Is there anything that you want us to say or or not to say? I've been to Winter AML once. I think I've only gone once, and in the time I went, it was very education funding heavy. But this year we're hearing there's not going to be a big discussion about education funding. So it's not that that's off the table. It's just that I don't think that's going to be a focus. I think the focus is going to be revenue. Oh gosh, what else, Amy? Oh yeah, we can get an update on the ferry.
I'd say energy and revenue. I think revenue is going to be the biggest topic by far. I still think we should talk about education, but it just won't be the pull that it has been the last couple of years. I think we should never stop talking about inflation-proofing the VSA. So, I mean, even if we're already told that it's not a year that that's going to happen, I think that we need to continue to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. And because it's an election year, we always seem to find money for capital projects during election years. Somehow, so we have our CIP list to help us with that. But Dave,
I don't know if it would be appropriate, but I think a discussion amongst the Coastal Caucus represented there at AML about the wisdom of using, I think, $33 million in DOT funds to build a ferry terminal that no one wants might be a discussion worth having, because I know our community and every other community that relies on ferry service has a lot of infrastructure needs that aren't being met at the same time that all of a sudden there's this giant windfall available for a ferry terminal with no population. But that's one assembly member's opinion.
Yeah, we can talk to them. Jeremiah, were you about to say something?
Yeah. As far as traveling things go, I've long thought that we maybe spend a bit too much on traveling for things like these. And then after joining local government, I've come to see some of the wisdom in having us travel for lobbying purposes. I would like to see a prioritization for mayoral staff to be the ones that go on these trips and to kind of tighten our budget in terms of sending anybody that wants to go to some of these things. In addition, as far as items to lobby, with the influx, at least the expected influx of Coast Guard personnel, I would like to see some lobbying, obviously on behalf of our harbor, ports and harbors in general, but then the federal government needs to understand if they're going to put in this much new personnel that we're going to need some help with infrastructure and housing possibilities and some funding to lessen the impact of Coast Guard personnel eating up even more of the unavailable housing on the island, as well as to agree with Dave on the ferry. And let's get some money not into a ferry terminal, but into reliable ferries and ferry service.
One of the, I think one of the thing, I'll be talking about this more on Thursday, but one of the good things I think that came out of the December conference, the annual conference, was made a lot of inroads with defense serving community people in other communities in the state. And I think that's going to open up a lot of stuff. So I'm going to continue to hammer that here. And if I go to Washington, D.C., that too, because that's where that money is going to come from, I think. Dave?
Sorry, I do apologize to everybody because I should have noticed this oversight before, but back to our resolution, and maybe it's in here, but I missed it when I read it, the supporting the Defense Community Infrastructure Program.
Is this the federal?
Yeah.
That is a good note.
It's in number 8 on line 126, 127. Do you want to add additional language to that? Sorry, can we
Or
do
have a
that
separate one?
outside of this agenda item? Sorry.
It's a work session, I'm fine with.
Would you like to make that its own separate item?
I think so.
I'm amenable to a separate item.
Me too.
Seems like we have consensus. I'm seeing more nodding heads than middle fingers. So, yeah, I think, you know what, I think this is going to be an important focus for us. So I think it deserves its own bullet. Thanks for catching that, Dave. It's a good idea. So yeah, that's where you know my head is infrastructure dollars for us. I think we need to get more clarification on what Nick was talking about with the Rural Health Transportation Transformation Fund. I think we need a lot more information about that. It's like with the opioid settlement money. It's like, right, here's all this money, and then it was just so vague about how to use it, how to get it, you know, all that stuff. So I think we should track down some people and find out some more answers about that one too. All right. So I'm hearing support for obviously going to the winter legislative conference. That one, yeah, obviously extremely valuable. Personally, I am on the fence about going to DC in March, just because I'm traveling so much in February, and I have classes to teach. So I'm still thinking about it. I did say, I have said in the past, and I will again. I'm trying to save the borough some money. I won't be using like lodging in Juneau. I'll be staying with my wife, and then I'll use my stipend to pay my own airfare, to Washington D.C. Though I hear it's like doubled in the past year. I heard it's nuts. But Scott, sorry.
I just want to chime in that the March time frame is important in DC, and trying to
Yeah, exactly.
mess with that is not going to be profitable at all. And I encourage assembly members to do this because it's an incredible education. Both the winter meeting or the meeting in Juneau for the state and the federal one are both remarkably informative. And getting to know not only your representatives, but also their staff is crucially important, really. So, thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Anyone else? Okay, all right, thanks. All right, moving on. The next item, discuss the code change to reduce allowable assembly absences. Bo, the initiator, is not here and asked that we move that to the next work session. I was fine with it. We were fine with it. So we'll just go ahead and skip over that one for now and then pick it up at the next work session. All right. I wish I could do that for everything. I'm just kidding. Okay. That's right. The final item for discussion on the work session is to discuss amendments to Kodiak Island Borough Code regarding holding multiple offices. And I'll hand this over to Dave.
Thank you. It's unfortunate if anyone feels targeted by a specific action. I very deliberately didn't submit this while there was a potential conflict or someone affected by it. But I'm very much a process person. I think processes need to be outlined and clear with clear delineation of responsibilities and authorities. And what I've seen in my short time on the assembly is that if you look at our borough code, the service districts are subordinate to the manager, yet the manager is subordinate to all of us. And so if you have a service district who's also member on the assembly, that creates what I think is a very unfair situation for the manager, because the manager is then in a position to, if they get a request that they don't think is right, or if they have a situation where somebody isn't happy with what's going on in the service district, or any accountability measure you want to discuss, it puts a manager in a situation where they're talking to a subordinate board member who's also their superior. And for chain of command and control, that's not a situation you ever want. So to me, that the way our code is written, putting the board subordinate to the manager, and then allowing dual hatting of those roles creates an untenable situation for the manager, and unfair one. And so that's why when there was no one who was in that position, I submitted the recommended change.
Thanks, Dave. Before I open up the discussion, Nova, did you have, you had some comments?
Yes, so I initially drafted the ordinance and then I worked with our attorney. So this has been vetted by the attorney. The initial draft was changed after the agenda setting, I believe, on Tuesday. that
Last
we had.
Tuesday.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the change that I made from the initial draft is to allow service area board members, road service area board members, to allow them to serve on the fire protection area number 1 board, and also to allow service area board members to also, if they want to run for office, like a school board office. So I don't think there's a conflict there. That's why I revised the ordinance. So just wanted to point that out. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions, discussion? Jeremiah?
I kind of see both sides of this conversation. Dave's right, but then at the same time, there is a lack of qualified and interested members in the community that are willing to serve on boards, assemblies, councils, etc. And I'm wondering if there's a middle road here where we can't delineate a clear conflict of interest between specific boards and elected offices, because when we have somebody that's willing to serve their community and can do so without having a conflict, I think that should be perfectly allowed, especially when the community is willing to elect that person. So I think there's a middle ground here, but I need to think on it harder on a way to properly word a proposed amendment to that. I like both sides of that discussion, to be honest.
Jeff?
I mean, it's hard to argue with putting the manager in a weird spot. It certainly does. However, there is already an existing method for addressing some of these issues through the chair pointing out a potential conflict of interest if the chair does believe that's something that is of concern. We're adults here. We should be able to actually have that discussion in broad daylight in an open meeting and actually be able to talk about it. Dave's right. It's an absolutely weird spot to be in, but we kind of already do have a method for addressing some of those concerns.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. It's my understanding that the conflict of interest provisions we have are related directly to, like, if there's a direct financial interest. Mm-hmm. So it is a little different. That there is in many cases, I think that what we've seen and what we fear, there might be not a personal financial conflict, but it kind of puts the borough manager in a financial conflict between what Dave and Jeremiah were saying with the hierarchy of authority and making those decisions. Thank you for that point. Dave, did you? Oh, okay. I might also say that I think, I'm torn too, because I believe in the electorate also, but we still do put parameters, around some of these things. It's, as far as I know, correct, an assembly member can't run for school board, or can they run for school board? See, they can't even run for school board. So, if you're on the assembly, you can't run for city council. So we've already set those things up. So those things are already there. I guess Dave is asking to refine it here for us. Any other comments or questions? Scott?
Isn't there something about borough staff can't be appointed to office, like on planning and zoning or something like that?
Yeah, they changed.
So, I mean, we have various kinds of strictures like that, so this is just another one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we will be looking at it again on Thursday. Okay, heading into packet review. Oh, that didn't take nearly as long as I thought it was going to. Not complaining. You guys are on it. Let's see. There it is. All right, packet review for January 15th's regular meeting. We are going to have, let's see, an award presentation for Employer of the Quarter. Do you know who it is yet? Okay, nice, cool. Cool. All right. First is a public hearing for the Assembly to review the State of Alaska Alcohol and Marijuana Control Office new winery retail license application for Friends by the Ocean, LLC DBA, Friends by the Ocean. There we go. All right, Nova.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the Assembly. This application is for a new winery retail license. And we received the notification on December 8th, and we have until February 5 to comment on it. And we have investigated, and as far as I know, that there are no comments or concerns from the departments. And we have also sent out 12 public hearing notices to landowners within 1,500 feet of the winery retail location. And any responses that we receive by Thursday noon will be distributed to the Assembly. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thanks, Nova. I don't see any issues, but the Assembly, Jeremiah, and then Steve.
My wife and I are the closest property owners to this this new business. What they built out there is gorgeous. They've done a great job. I think they're going to be great. I think they're going to be great people for business in the borough. There's no reason in my eyes that they should be withheld, and I think I'm probably the person that would be most affected by it in the entire borough. So I absolutely voice no protest to this at all.
Steve.
I will be supporting it too. It's really basically returning it to what it was 20 years ago. And the location didn't have any problems then, and I think the current owners are concerned enough about success in the neighborhood and not trying to keep the neighborhood a quiet type place that I see no problem with it.
Great. Anyone else? All right. We will have the public hearing on Thursday and then followed by another one. Ordinance number FY 2026-16, amending the Kodiak Island Borough Code, Chapter 5.01 regarding liquor licenses to clarify the methods and basis for borough protests for issuance of a new license, renewal of an existing license, transfer of an existing license, and review of the continued operation of a license. Nova.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the Assembly. The Alaska Legislature enacted the bill, and they modernized the Alaska's alcoholic beverage laws in 2022. So we updated our code to reflect these changes, and this is up for public hearing. We had extensive discussion at the previous work session, and it was introduced at the last regular meeting, so now it's before you as a public hearing item. One thing that we're going to address later is that I am currently working with our attorney. In addition to what you have before you, you're going to see probably another ordinance sometime later to address endorsements. Those are something new that we have to deal with. But I think we need to, this is solid, the one that is before you. I think we need to move forward with this one. And then we'll just present you with an amendment to add provisions to address endorsements later. Thank you.
Thank you, Nova. Assembly discussion? Jeremiah.
Nothing I haven't said before. Staff did a fantastic job on that. It looks good to me.
Yeah, very extensive. Thank you for that. All right. Here we go. Contracts. Contract number FY 2026-25, Landfill Scale Shack Platform Project. It's a tongue twister. Scale Shack Platform Project with CCI Industrial Services, LLC. Okay, Amy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had contractors, staff members, residents, and a previous assembly member let us know that the Scale Shack platform had some safety issues out at the landfill, so a project was developed to address the safety concerns. This project was brought before the assembly on December 16th at the work session, and at the regular meeting on December 18th, where it was postponed to tonight. I spoke with the mayor and DPO at agenda setting, and they didn't feel as there was actually any new or different information that you needed. You just wanted to continue the discussion tonight. If you do have questions, our project manager, Cody Allen, is here tonight if you have any questions about the project. Thanks.
All right. Any questions, Dave?
Not a question, just so much as a background. While everyone was gone, we had a bare minimum quorum, so we moved to postpone it so that it didn't put anyone in a situation where they felt they had to vote one way or another. I agree with the concerns on this and don't support it moving forward as it is, but I will understand if that's not the vote of the majority.
Dave, do you mind articulating why?
Yeah, having worked, I only got to spend a year on the Solid Waste Advisory Board. But in that year, the landfill scale shack was not a discussion topic, and yet a whole lot of other landfill needs were. So I'm not saying it's not righteous. I'm not saying it's not a worthy project. I just think that knowing there's a cell closure coming up and a fund balance problem, that money's better spent elsewhere at this time.
Thanks, Dave. Jeremiah, and then Jeff.
No secret, I've had a very big problem with this project. It is well beyond scale, though I appreciate what engineering and facilities have done to put this before us. Mainly, this needs to be downsized as a project and definitely needs to go back out to bid. I have it on firsthand authority that several local contractors never ever even saw this. I'm not sure why. They claim that they were subscribed to the bid process in question, and just based on mobilization and demobilization alone, we stand to save a lot of money, but this needs to be downscaled significantly, and I have a massive problem with it the way it's being put forward.
Thank you. Jeff.
Again, not to keep bugging Dave, but Dave did put it well. I just don't think the juice is worth the squeeze here. It's too much money for not enough benefit. Not to say that it's not righteous, like you said. It very well may need updates, but as someone who's used that waste shack quite a lot over the last decade, I really fail to see a significant benefit here.
Anyone else? Amy. Yeah.
I'd just like to mention real quick that because this project went so far and got to the assembly, and then you found out that that the thoughts are that it's too much money and not enough effort, we've been working, staff has been working and talking to the mayor and the DPO about a different process that we can use to make sure that we don't end up in this position again. We're going to change the way that you see projects, try to do engineer estimates if it's practical. Sometimes it's not worth the cost when the projects are really small, but just make sure that you're aware of projects at the 35, 65, 90% level as we go. So you'll see, and we'll talk about this at a work session, so we can talk about a different way that we can move projects forward so that there isn't a big sticker shock when we get to the end. So I think that we've, Cody and Patricia have worked out a really good system, and we're doing that for the hospitals too, to align more with that contract, but it'll work really well with how we do business on this side too. So I think it'll be more transparent, and we won't end up at this situation in the future.
Thank you, Amy. Anyone else? Okay. It will. The contract will still be on the agenda for Thursday. And we'll take another look. Moving into resolutions. Resolution number FY 2026-11. Adopting an alternative allocation method for the FY26 Shared Fisheries Business Tax Program and certifying that this allocation method fairly represents a distribution of significant. Did I skip one? Oh, no, that one. No, I'm just kidding. You're right. You're absolutely right. Another contract. Just a small detail. For some reason, we need to extend the employment contract with the borough manager for a period of 1 year. Is that me, or is that Megan? I can read it if it's not too awkward.
I can do it as
okay.
well. I don't care about awkward. My contract, which was fiscal year 23-43 with the borough that employs me, is through April 30th, 2026. It includes language that the Assembly may elect, if they so choose, to extend the contract for 1 year at the end of the contract period, and that's supposed to be done with 90 days' notice. 90 days' notice falls on January 30th, so Nova noticed that we should take care of this before that date, which means the January 15th meeting. The contract does have one amendment, and this extension would keep both the original contract and that amendment in place.
And David, did I see your hand go up?
Yeah, the only question I wanted to ask, because this is my first time with the borough manager's contract. Boards change, and that creates uncertainty. And I don't think you want uncertainty in your manager's contract. Is there a reason this board hasn't considered a multi-year contract extension? I think, I'm not talking a 10-year, but, you give a 2 or a 3 year contract extension, it demonstrates confidence, and it provides the manager with a little bit of reassurance that they don't need to have a bag packed every other Thursday.
Steve, and then Jeremiah.
Oh, this is a question for Amy. The way, if I heard you correct when you were reading that, you had a contract and then it allowed for a 1 year extension?
I'm going to have to go review my own contract.
I know, I'm looking through it right now, too, to answer Dave's question
I thought it was
also.
a couple years and then.
It is for 3 years.
Yeah, it's for 3.
With a 1 year extension?
Yep, that's it.
Possibility.
It's there, it's section 2.
And then if you, otherwise you can probably rewrite a whole new contract. Isn't that what you do when you get to the end of yours?
Mine is open-ended.
Okay, well,
Everyone loves Nova.
no, I just wanted to make sure I was understanding right before I made my recommendation is we approve this, and if we want to talk about being able to do multi-year extensions, we do that. But we have a timeline on this, and that is the way that contract is written.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to stay within the bounds of that contract, and I will be supporting it.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Did you have something, Nova?
The contract, this agreement, it states that this agreement shall be in effect for 3 years or unless manager resigns or is terminated under the provisions of section 4 above. If any provision or any okay. It looks like, you can amend this existing contract and just add a provision that you can either make it open-ended, but it's really up to the borough manager and what you would like to do. So definitely we can amend the existing contract however you want it corrected or amended.
Dave?
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting we had to fix or change
okay.
anything right this minute.
Okay.
I was just saying as a business practice, going forward, I think on the school board, we would always extend 1 year, but we would do it when there was still like 2 years left on the contract to show that the intent was for
Gotcha.
3 years of a contract. And I thought that was a good way of demonstrating that the superintendent has the confidence without unnecessarily binding the body. So that was all I was trying to suggest was maybe, not Thursday, but for future efforts, we consider a model more like that.
Yeah. Okay. Jeremiah?
I would just like to say that I always thought highly of Miss Williams as a manager in the past, and then after becoming a part of the assembly, I couldn't believe how much I underestimated her even then when I was in approval, so I'm definitely in support of keeping her on as long as her performance continues.
And the manager will have their annual review in April, May? May. And Bo will be leading that as DPO. So that'll be another good time to talk about multi-year options. Okay. All right. I'm seeing consensus. All right. Okay, now resolutions. FY 2026-11, for the Shared Fisheries Business Tax Program and certifying that this allocation method fairly represents the distribution of significant effects of fisheries business activity in Fisheries Management Area 13. That's the Kodiak area. Let's pull that up. All right, Amy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The State of Alaska Department of Commerce, Community and Economic Development Shared Fisheries Business Tax Program was created in 1990 to help municipalities impacted by the effects of the rapidly expanding offshore fishing processing industry by collecting a tax from fish processors and sharing the collected taxes with affected municipalities. Applications must be submitted annually by municipalities to receive an allocation from the program. This year, the deadline is February 15th, 2026, which is also my birthday. Kodiak Island Borough, along with other municipalities in the Fisheries Management Area 13, which, as the mayor mentioned, is the Kodiak area, have agreed to use an alternative allocation method instead of the standard allocation method. For fiscal year 26, the shared fisheries business tax applications, the agreed alternative allocation is 50% of the allocation is shared equally between all municipalities in the area, and the remaining 50% of the allocation is shared on a per capita basis by population in our different population areas. The total calculated allocation to our area is $80,910. Of that amount, the borough's calculated share of the business tax is $24,666, and the landing tax is $2,699, for a total of $27,365. In fiscal year 25, we received a total of $13,855. This resolution indicating the Assembly has approved the alternate allocation method is a required attachment to the shared business tax program application. So this has to be approved by the Assembly so we can get it into that program before February 15th. And this is something that we do every year.
And we use the alternative method because it includes the villages.
If we do not use the alternative method, every municipality would have to fill out their own individual long form. And this way, all the money comes to us and we distribute it from here.
It's pretty standard stuff, but any questions? All right. Next resolution we'll be talking about are the CIP lists, and we've already talked about the state one, and then number 3 is the federal one. So moving on down to ordinances for introduction. There it is, FY 2026-15, amending various sections of the Kodiak Island Borough Code Title 17 zoning related to short-term rental definitions, zoning, and permitting requirements. Amy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You can see that there's a really long discussion in the packet tonight, so I'm going to do a very short one. You're having your first look at the Planning and Zoning Commission's efforts to modernize KAB code around short-term rentals. The commission voted 7-0 to move these changes up to the Assembly. The changes provide distinct short-term rental uses, revised definitions, updated titles, updates to different zoning districts to list both where and how this type of use is permitted in the different districts, and updates to the parking requirements to ensure that the updates uses are listed in the parking requirements section. Our Community Development Director, Chris French, is here tonight to answer any questions that you might have. And once again, thank you to Planning and Zoning and the Community Development staff. As you can see, these are long and require a lot of work. But I think this is going to go hand in hand with our new short-term rental software, which should be online, I was hoping this week. So you guys will be able to see some graphics from that and get some numbers on how many short-term rentals. I think this will allow us to have a better control over what's happening in the community, and it will set us up for success if we ever try to regulate those. Thank you. And again, Chris is here if you have questions.
Yes, and thank you to Chris and his team and P&Z for working on that. I know they've been working on this for a long time, and so thank you so much for working on this. Discussion, questions, or comments? Dave.
Appreciate the effort that went into this. I know it's been an ongoing project to get this cleaned up and defined, so thank you to the staff and Planning and Zoning for the work that went into it.
Scott.
I like it. I think it's a lot better than the old one. Thank you.
Feels good to update things. Okay, all right. We'll be introducing this on Thursday. Thanks, Chris. The second ordinance is the one we just discussed about holding multiple elected offices. Number 3, ordinance number FY 2026-18, amending Title 8 Health and Safety, Chapter 8.25 Solid Waste Collection and Disposal. Amy.
I'm very glad that we're all feeling good about updating things because this is going to be a big push of much of the same. The intent of this ordinance is to revise the solid waste code first and then align the new solid waste contract with the updated version, not our current one. We're taking most contract-specific language out of the actual code, and we're going to allow the borough to focus on enforcement authority while the contract is going to address all the operational details. This approach ensures the code and contract complement each other seamlessly rather than imposing operational controls on the contractor or retrofitting new provisions into the existing agreement. The ordinance includes a section that will allow property owners time to adjust practices to comply with the new requirements. The existing code will sunset when the current solid waste contract expires on June 30th, 2027, creating a clean transition point for the borough and the contractor. Starting fresh with updated code section will allow us to clearly delineate responsibilities. The borough will retain regulatory authority while the contractor will manage operational aspects in direct alignment with the revised code and the new contract terms. This approach should minimize confusion, improve accountability, and create a more streamlined partnership moving forward. So to summarize that into something that's a little more easy to understand, what we're asking is to approve a code change inside of Title 8 that will not actually take place until July 1st, 2027, which is not something that we normally do when it comes to code changes. What we will then do is when we ask for the contractors to come to us how they propose how they want to take care of solid waste here, it will be based on our new code. Our current code will stay in place through the end of this contract that we're in, so no changes to the current code, no changes to the current contract. It is in place until June 30th, 2027. The day that we switch and that new contract starts, it'll be with new code. Previously, we do this once every 7 years, and the last time we did the contract, the borough wrote the contract, and then the contractor came in and tried to align with stuff. And if you've looked at that contract at all, you'll know from like page 2 in the table of contents, the page numbers are wrong. The math is wrong in the tables on how to connect, how to figure out what the changes in prices are going to be. So it has a lot of issues. Staff put a lot of time into the First Amendment back in 2021. Put almost a year into the Second Amendment last year that didn't pass. So to avoid that and having all of those details in the code, Patricia, who is here tonight to answer questions, has spent a whole heck of a lot of time with the help of the Solid Waste Contract Committee to go through and take out a lot of the contract code and simplify code and put in, hey, how do we actually enforce this and what are the borough's rights around the regulatory side of it? So there's a lot of blue and a lot of red, but if you compare the before and after, there's a lot less in the code and you'll see a lot more of details actually living in the contract. Assemblymember Whiteside, who is traveling tonight, has been at all of these meetings and has helped this come along. He also brought along an Alaska Department of Fish and Game bear biologist to the last meeting, just so we can make sure that we're including those needs as we're building our bear management plan. So a lot of great things are in here. Patricia is our subject matter expert. So if you have questions about any of the changes, she's here to answer questions tonight. I think this is going to be a very good step into simplifying this process as we move into a new contract.
Thank you, Amy. All right. Assembly discussion. Scott.
I think the first thing, it'd be good if Cody could explain the difference between a request for proposals and a bid, because that was illuminating to me when we were having the discussions. Can we get that?
Really encouraging Patricia through this for growth opportunity. But yeah, so I've supported throughout this as well. The key points, your current contract was an ITB, so an invitation to bid, which is usually price-based methodology of procurement, where it's purely price-based. And so what we're recommending aligns with industry standards and other municipalities across the state, notably Seward and Homer, or who we got permission and kind of copy their approach to their code and how they do their contracting methodologies. And that's a request for proposals, which is a value-based method of procurement. And so you're still going to have price as one aspect of it, but it's going to be not predominantly the key. It's going to be having that relationship with the contractor and more fluidity to make those changes, as opposed to having that rather largely amended contract that we currently have.
Can I continue?
Sure, yeah.
In addition to that, the representative from Alaska Waste was at one of these meetings, and he explained that the code that we have on the books now was written by people somewhere else and imported to us, and that it was written by people who didn't know anything about waste management, which made it difficult to try to translate into ways we could, or Alaska Waste could, deal with it. And so some of these changes are directed at that. In addition, the verbiage in that one was really sleep-inducing, and Patricia has cleaned it up considerably and made it a lot shorter, both of which are big benefits. Thank you.
Jeremiah.
Yeah, again, Ms. Valerio, great job on that. I read through it with a fine-tooth comb. Looks fantastic. I got no problem with that. I think I'm going to have issues when it comes up with contract time, but that's another story for another day.
Patricia, do you mind talking about Section 4, the amortization? I know that this has been the root of some complaints in recent years. Do you mind breaking that down for us?
Sure. So the section, as Amy explained earlier, is that it'll allow the code to go into effect when the new contract starts. And so that will allow any businesses, any current customers to be able to catch up with the changes, and we would need to do a lot of educational pieces, but that's essentially what this section is. It's just all the legal jargon to allow us to do that.
Thank you for that. Well, yes, no, yeah. I think it's great. I like this. It's rare to see, I think, in an ordinance, such, I guess, explicit intentional language, like the assembly intends this to mean this, or this category to apply to that. So, I mean, here I think it's fine. I think it does actually kind of clarify what we want for our constituents, but it's I don't know. I just made a note that it was. You don't see it a lot. Yeah.
So that was something. It's something that the attorney also encouraged us to do, so that way we had a start and an end. So that's probably a good piece of information to have. It obviously won't be a part of the actual code, so it won't just continue this. It will just be in the ordinance itself. So.
Cool. Thanks. Anyone else? Dave.
Sorry, I have a somewhat, I guess, technical question. Starting on line number 459, authorized crushed asphalt only if the product is used and then lists. I will absolutely confess ignorance. I thought there were stricter guidelines on that, but please tell me I'm wrong.
So when I was working on updating this, I did go to the Alaska Department of Environmental Conservation to verify those things, those items and listed things with that department, and that is what's listed through the DEC. Sorry.
Okay, I thought there was some compacting guidelines that went along with it, but maybe I'm mistaken.
I can double check that if you would like, and just to make sure. I mean, it's been a little while since I've dug into it and looked at that specific page, so I can verify that.
Great. Anyone else? All right. Thanks, Patricia. And thanks to Solid Waste Committee for another huge update. This is good. This is the right way to go with this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, final item. This is the endorsement that Nova was talking about, reviewing the state of Alaska AMCO new hotel, motel, beverage dispensary tourism endorsement application for Island Hotels LLC, doing business as the Chart Room. Nova.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the Assembly. Since the enactment of the update to the alcoholic beverage state law in 2022, this is the second endorsement that we have received. So there's not a lot of them. So just to let you know that endorsements are relatively recent or new, and they stem from the amendments to the statutes that took effect in January 2024. The Kodiak Island Borough has not seen a significant number of these endorsement applications yet. In simple terms, endorsements serve as additional authorizations associated with a primary beverage license, and they cannot exist independently. So what we do, the process that we followed, because it's absent from our existing code, and it's also absent in the proposal that we have before you under public hearing. So what we did is that we investigated the whole license itself, just so if there's anything that we need to bring to your attention, then we can bring those before you. But so far, in this instance, there's no objection from the departments. We don't see any reason for us to object with the endorsement. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Nova. Any questions? Okay, all right. That's good. Thank you. All right, coming back to the work session. Clerk's comments.
I feel like I talked a lot tonight. So I'm going to keep it short. We're working with a lot of licenses. I think it's because if it's the new year or end of the year type of thing, we are working on 6 AMCO alcoholic beverages license, and we are working on 3 marijuana licenses. We're investigating all those. If there's any concerns, we'll bring those forward. I don't have other things to report aside from the big project that I currently am working on is an update to Chapter 2.30 of the code, which is the assembly rules. The bulk of that was written in 1986, and it's extremely outdated. We need to modernize the language. I have found very confusing provisions. We follow Robert's rules, and it's adopted by the Assembly in the code that we follow the latest Robert's rules. However, there are provisions in the code that do not align with, it's very confusing for staff. So I think we need to update and eliminate unnecessary language that's in the code. And it's a big project, and I will have that before you, I would say in a few months. Thank you.
Thanks, Nova. Okay, moving on to Assembly members' comments. We'll start all the way down at the end with Mr. Woods.
Thank you, staff, for the tremendous amount of work hours y'all put in. And Amy, thank you for embracing Stockholm Syndrome or whatever it is that makes you want to stay here. Thank you much.
Ms. Roberts.
Thank you. I don't have any comments pertaining directly to the Borough Assembly. However, I want to take the moment to plug, to encourage everyone in the community, whether you have a kid in the school district or not, to fill out the survey that is currently posted that closes on Friday. I heavily encourage everyone to fill that out to provide their feedback to the school board.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Ames.
Well, it seems like it's been a long time. I missed one meeting just before the long break, but it's good to be back. And yes, the staff on several of the issues in here have put a lot of time and energy into it, and that is appreciated. And it's been my experience that if there are questions, they're good at answering them. So it should be noted they are appreciated, at least by me.
Thank you. Mr. Smiley, Dr. Smiley.
Here, Doctor, Associate Professor, to you. What to gripe about? Not much. I hope everyone had as pleasant a holiday season as I did. And I met with my son and his paramour in Portland, Oregon, and had a wonderful time. We went out to the beach, and I was hypnotized by the waves. If you have an opportunity to do that, I encourage you to try. At any rate, thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think just adding on to what Ms. Roberts had mentioned, in addition, I know there's a budget town hall, and I think it's incredibly important that people understand the link between assessed values of our homes and what the state puts back on the borough as an education funding requirement. That gets lost in the conversation a lot of times, and I think it's really important to understand because it creates a situation where whether or not we like it or agree with it, the more our assessed values go up, the more responsible we become for the education budget, and that creates a very difficult pinch point for this assembly. But that's the state law of the state we've chosen to live in. So understanding that, I think, can alleviate sometimes a lot of consternation about the budget process. So I would encourage folks to go and ask questions and learn that if they're not clear as to how those are linked. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Gardner.
I also feel like I talked a lot tonight, so I'll keep it short. It was good to be off island, but it's a whole lot better to be home. I missed you all, and as always, staff, thank you so much for all your help and hard work. Here's looking forward to a productive Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor's comments, just a couple highlights. I will have a more formal report about travel and other items on Thursday. A couple big things coming up that I'd like us to keep an eye to. One, of course, is the school district funding. I decided, and with Amy and Bo, that I would like to have a discussion about about the school district's ask before they formally ask us. I think we need to start talking about that, like now. And so we're going to start the conversations, at least with us, because we know the school district is going to ask for the cap. And so we already know kind of where we're going to be starting. So I think we should have a conversation and come up with some scenarios so that we don't feel just as so much pressure or as pressed, not pressure, but as pressed when it comes to May. We have a joint work session with the city coming up. We have an agenda setting with them on the 20th with the city. So make sure you come to that. We'll be talking about the pool at least and our infrastructure project lists, but I'm sure a couple of others. If there's anything that you would like me or Amy to bring to the agenda setting that you would like to talk to the city about, let us know, and we'll put it in the discussion. With the school district, we're also going to soon be having a really big kind of discussion about new revenue, a big presentation on MAPTR and what Dave was talking about, what that is going to mean, and that's going to be something. And you might have noticed on the work session, we did have an item on the agenda to talk about the mayoral appointments to the ARB. Still waiting for a couple of more to come in. I want a board that includes new people, different people. And so we're working on getting their applications in. So that'll come up soon. Finally, I think I'd like to cede the last of my time, if it's okay, to Seema. Seema, can you come down? I know that there's an important deadline before our next meeting about senior citizen and disabled veteran exemptions.
So the deadline for seniors and disabled vets application is the 15th at 5 p.m. So please get your applications in. Amy did call 144, I believe, seniors, and 47 vets were called by Ryan. And as of 3 p.m., I want to say we are 100 senior applications short and 22 vet applications short. That's after all of the phone calls, we send out postcards in the mail reminding everybody. So please, if you're listening, get your applications in. We hold fast and strong to that deadline. And, you know, we're at staff and Amy we're doing everything that we can to remind everybody. So please get them in, because then you're just mad at me when you don't file on them. Thank you.
Thank you, Seema. All right, and with that, we are adjourned, 7:45.